Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So it's time for a new album review this Monday, and this time I'm reviewing a debut death metal album from a band called Evulsion. This is their release Spiritual Putrefaction, which came out back on the 3rd of May. It's an independent release and it's 9 tracks and about 44 minutes in length. So you've got 4 band members in this band. You've got Patrick Apive on vocals and guitars. You've also got Elena Verrier on guitars. You may know her, she's a YouTuber that does lots of covers of death metal songs. You've also got Alex Potapov on bass guitar and Chris Dovas on drums as well. So this album for me is an absolute monster of a death metal record, and it's all the more impressive that it's a debut album as well. Now you can hear lots of different influences from other death metal bands, I'd say, but it feels like a controlled fusion of those influences. You know, the band I feel like have done justice to their influences. They've also created a cohesive unit of songs overall. I think that what I love particularly, I think, about this record is it's pleasingly unpredictable, and what I mean by that is that the unpredictability of it, I still feel like they know how to best develop their songs, and that the twists and turns all tie nicely into the songs. Yes, there are lots and lots of tempo changes. There's lots of technical wizardry and flurries and whirlwinds of instrumentation, but it feels like the album still just about does enough as well to keep you in for the ride and to keep you excited about the tracks. You know, there's lots of... It's like the record knows how to push the right death metal buttons for me. It does so in entertaining and interesting ways and methods. So for me, I would also sum this record up by saying I think it brings the intelligence of like a death album from the 90s, but along with that comes the brutality and technicality of bands like Nile and Dying Fetus. In fact, you can hear quite a few stompy breakdowns a la Dying Fetus, I think, in this album too. But again, I feel like they're done in intelligent ways, tying into the overall flow of this record. So let's go into some of the songs on Spiritual Putrefaction. I love the way this album starts, just so unapologetically fast and furious, with Decimation, an aptly named track, because that's what it does. It will decimate you as the listener. You know, a lot of albums actually, and even death metal albums, I think they start with these slow introductory 2-minute instrumental tracks at the moment. There's a real trend with that going on, I feel like, but this album doesn't do that. It's just like, nope, we're going to start how we want to. We're going to go straight into things. We're going to blast you with some absolutely super fast, brutal tech death and leave you blown away from the very start. I really like the way as well, though, that the band do, you know, there's this sort of start-stoppiness in places in songs on this album, and I feel like this first track you also get occasional, very, very short and sharp breaks for those chunkier moments coming into this track too. Spiritual Putrefaction for me is another insane display of technical guitar wizardry and blast beats. You get that sort of those slamming moments and those jolty guitar riffs coming into this one as well. I still feel like it's a really good song. Graves by Death brings in a little bit more chunkiness to its riffage. I feel that's maybe a little bit more of an accessible point in the record to this point. But I love the way that track ends, the way it comes to its closure. I do feel like this is a band that know how to finish the songs as well. They've like got a good way of developing the songs to a closure, and you know, that's not always something that death metal bands or technical death metal bands particularly do all that well, but I feel like this band know how to bring their tracks to a climactic end. Downpour of Insight goes for a thicker, tastier approach, a little bit more on the obituary side of things, maybe sort of melodic carcass here. I love this band, the way that they develop this song in a complex yet still satisfying way. Again, that one's just a bit thicker and tastier for those of you that prefer maybe that style of the death metal, even maybe bordering on to thrashier territories in that particular song. A song I also really wanted to shout out on this album is Under Tons of Marble, which is noticeably doomier in its sound, but it also still, you know, unexpectedly you get thrown into the fast tempo death metal every now and then as well. But so you think you've got a full sense of security with that track, but you're going to get a breather. Well, it doesn't last for too long, because you suddenly get those flurries of whirlwind instrumentation coming back into the swing of things right towards the, you know, this is getting towards the end of this record now. So those are some of my favourite songs. That's not all of the tracks, but yeah, I found this a really thrilling, really, you know, quite challenging yet still you know, satisfying death metal record overall. I'm going to give this one a score of a 9 out of 10. I feel like this is a must listen for any death metal fans. I think it's an absolutely fantastic album. You're not going to regret giving this one a spin. I think it's only digitally available to download. I'm happy to be corrected. I couldn't find sort of CD versions or vinyl versions of this. I feel like that's something that I'd love to get my hands on as a physical copy of this record, because it's an absolute blast. It's an absolute monster of a record. So, you know, but otherwise, no, I feel like this album definitely deserves a shout out. It's a debut release. It's not on a label. As I say, if you follow Elena Verrier's videos like I do, that's actually how I discovered this band. You may actually have heard of this band, and therefore you should definitely check them out. They are quite the force with an album like this, and particularly a first album. Anyway, for me, don't forget to drop a like and a sub if you enjoyed this video. I'll do more of these kind of reviews. At the moment, I've got symphonic metal in particular in focus on the channel, because I'm running a series called Symphonic Sundays. Check that out if you want to listen to some coverage on symphonic metal bands, new and old. Otherwise, I also do fantasy and horror content on this channel as well. But otherwise, from me, until next time, it's bye for now.